Hello everyone, I hope all of you are safe and doing well. Today we will talk about the Harrod-Domer growth model. Now, what do you mean by growth model? Growth models are theories of economic growth that are developed by the economists. Now, this model is based on the experiences of advanced economies. It has attempted to explain how the economies need to grow over time, otherwise they would be left to stagnate. So in this model, they attempt to analyze the requirements of steady growth in an economy. They want to discover a rate of growth which is necessary for the smooth running of the economy. Now let us talk about Harrod and Domer. R.F. Harrod and E.D. Domer, they were two economists who had developed this growth model. Both of them, Harrod and Domer, developed their model of growth independently in different countries and at different times. Harrod published his theory in 1948 in his book Towards a Dynamic Economics, and Domer's book Essays in the Theory of Economic Growth was published in 1957. So we can see that the theories were published at different times. Both these models may differ in details. However, their ideas are so similar that the models have got integrated and are more generally presented as a single united model, which is called the Harrod-Domer growth model. Now, let us dig deeper into this model. As I told you earlier that this model studies the conditions which are required for smooth growth of an economy, it gives importance to two aspects. One is investment and the other are savings. Now, before talking about savings, let's talk about commodities. An economy produces a variety of commodities, and this act of production, it generates income. This very income is used to buy other commodities. Now, commodities can be categorized as consumer goods and capital goods. Consumer goods are goods which are produced for the purpose of satisfying human wants, needs, and preferences. For example, eating mangoes, buying clothes, and capital goods are commodities that are produced for the purpose of producing other commodities. For example, blast furnace, plant, and machinery. Now let us see how savings are important. Households, people like us, we save money. So by saving, we generally mean that all the income we receive is not spent on current consumption. We can save it in banks, through individual loans, governments, stock market, financial institutions. So from abstaining from consumption, households are making available a pool of funds that the firms can use to buy capital goods. Thus, this is the act of investment. We can see the buying power being channelized from savers to investors. So the firms create market demand for capital goods by either entering into a new business or by expanding their old business. So they add to the stock of capital in the economy, and this is how they endow it in the future with an ever larger capacity of production. And this is how an economy grows. So we can see that without the initial saving, there would be no investment, and without investment, the economy cannot grow. Now we have seen how savings are important for the growth of an economy. So according to this model, the growth of an economy is also positively related to the savings ratio. By savings ratio, we mean ratio of savings to income, which can be denoted by S by Y. Now we have seen higher savings means higher investment in physical capital, and by capital we mean those means of production that are produced by man, for example plant and machinery, tools and equipments. These increase in production of goods and services. Now when goods and services are being produced, we pay to labor, we pay rent, we pay to entrepreneurs. So there is a lot of cash circulation in the economy. This leads to increase in the growth of economy. Now let us move on to the other concept of capital output ratio. Now capital, we know, and output we know. So capital output ratio is the number of units of capital which are required to produce 1 unit of output. Therefore, lower capital output ratio will lead to higher economic growth. Now, how is that so? Lower capital input ratio means less inputs are required to produce one output, and this will lead to an efficient production. On the other hand, higher capital input ratio means more inputs are required to produce 1 unit of output, and this results in inefficient production. Therefore, this concept reflects the productivity of capital, and therefore lower capital output ratio leads to higher economic growth as fewer units of input generate higher outputs. Now, Harrod-Domar model, they assign crucial role to capital accumulation. Capital, we know, capital accumulation, according to Professor Todaro, results when some proportion of present income is saved and invested in order to increase future output and income. This we've done earlier. And also investment in the process of economic growth. So investment in this model is the central theme. It plays a dual role. Firstly, it generates income, which is also known as the demand effect, and it creates productive capacity, which is the supply effect. Now we will discuss more about it in the other slides. Now let us see the demand effect of investment, how it creates income. When investment increases, firms buy more of capital goods. This is how the capital accumulates. When capital accumulation increases, there is more production of goods and services. So production of goods and services increases. The amount paid to factors of production like wages, rent, profits, etc., it increases, and the income in the economy increases overall. Coming to supply effect, the productive capacity increases as there is an addition in a stock of capital in the economy, as we had discussed earlier. Thus, Harrod-Domar model considered demand and supply sides of the investment process, which we have seen earlier, the income effect and the capacity effect. Also, it recognizes the critical role of capital accumulation in the process of economic growth. This also we have seen earlier, how capital accumulation is important in the process of economic growth. Now, lastly, Harrod-Domar model integrated the classical and Keynesian analysis of economic growth, which let's see in the next slide what it is. Now, let us talk about classical economics. Classical economics is basically a school of thought who advocated laissez-faire policy. This policy means a policy of minimum governmental interference in the economic affairs of a country. The classical economists also believed in the existence of full employment in the economy. By full employment we mean people who are able and willing to work find employment. Classical economics considered only the supply side of capital accumulation, that is only the saving side. They neglected the demand side, which is the investment side of capital accumulation. In case of Keynesian economics, Keynes believed that in the long run we all are dead. Therefore, they focused on the changes in the short run. They advocated government intervention is important to emerge an economy out of recession. Keynesian economists, they considered the demand side of capital accumulation, which is the investment side. However, they failed to give any thought to the supply side, that is the saving side of capital accumulation. I hope these concepts were clear. Now the remaining concepts we'll cover up in the upcoming videos. Thank you.